What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Boleros. I'm here with Gary. Hello, boy.
Hey,
Hello, we're back again.
Okay. Team Sandogab
what
today. Sandogang.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's go.
See. We have a lot to cover today, Sunday. We had a jam-packed day yesterday. Lots of exciting games, at least two. We definitely know were very exciting, come from behind, very
Exciting
surprising
or
results.
depressing, depending on who you're rooting
Depending on your
for.
team, yes. And we also had
Uh,
dominant games from top contenders. So pag-usapan natin 'yan, but with the way we're going to talk about it today is we're going to ask some burning questions from yesterday's games. Okay? So I'll ask Gab and Maui some of these questions. They'll give their quick takes on it. That's how we'll cover each and every team. So let's start. Let's start on a bad note. Let's talk about the two teams that lost. Uh, Actually, the
In
three
very
teams that
depressing
lost.
ways.
The three teams that lost yesterday. So I want to focus on three teams. So which one hurt the most for the team in yesterday's loss? Was it Ateneo's loss to Adamson via Vince Magbuho's game winner? Was it FEU's loss to UE? UE with a 19-0 run? Or was it NU's, shall we say,
beat down.
embarrassing loss, beat down from UP? Because everyone was calling it, one of the biggest games ever. Magkakaalaman na kung sino magcha-champion. Battle of the top two teams, championship contenders, and they got whooped by UP. So which loss hurt the most for that team? Hindi para sa inyo Alam ko which loss hurt for you guys the most. Pero para sa team, ano yung may biggest impact na talo? Let's start with you, Gab.
For me, although I did watch the Ateneo Adamson game live, I was there. I was hurt, frustrated, sad in the second half and in the overtime. Second buzzer beating loss to Adamson in this calendar year. The first one was in the Phil Oil. I witnessed both, but for me, the loss that hurt very much was FEU to UE. I said it to you guys before we came on in this episode. What happened to FEU was just like quicksand. The harder and harder they tried to get offense going in the fourth quarter, the more depressing, the the faster they sunk into that black hole, into that quicksand, because they just couldn't get any shot to fall. They were turning the ball over and over again. They were up by 10 with coming into the fourth quarter, early into the fourth quarter, and they couldn't do anything to stop UE, and they couldn't get anything going on offense. I know how that feels. I played in games wherein lamang kami, then suddenly we find ourselves down by 6. Now we're down by 8, 10, and suddenly yung tambak na kami. We couldn't get anything going. Uh, and you try, di ba? When you go down when you go down big, you after being up, you try as much as possible. You try to force things, and then nothing comes to fruition, and that's what happened to FU yesterday. And we saw it with their body language after Yumawi mentioned it right before we came on. They were on the floor, crouched down, head in their hands. So painful. They now have lost 3 very winnable games for them, and 0-3 winless. It's just like season 85 all over again for this team. And they have played similarly to season 85. As much as we give, or FEU gave Olsen Racela a lot of hindi naman hate, pero criticism during his time last year in season 85 when they started 0-5. I think we have to give the same criticisms to Coach Denok. He has not drastically changed the way FEU has played. They still rely heavily on Cyrus Torres outside shooting, and Cyrus Torres was wow, what a struggle of a shooting performance he had
One for
yesterday. 1 out of
14.
14.
That's
Yep. 1 out of
only
14.
one 3-pointer,
And
1 out of 10.
yep. And FEU fans, well, one of our FEU subscribers said he's not that concerned with our outside shooting. We have a lot of guards. But I've been adamant that FEU struggles when they don't make outside shots, especially when Cyrus Torres does not make outside shots. And yesterday was an example of it. Grabe. Sobrang depressing for FEU. Let's see how they bounce back, no? But that hurt a lot. Sipin mo, pare, for like 7 minutes in the fourth quarter, they could not score anything. They could not get anything to fall. They could not execute on offense. And that's depressing for me. More than Ateneo losing to Adamson and NU getting pounded on by UP. That FEU game was such a hard sight to see if you're an FEU fan. So I'm going with FEU. Maui.
Yeah, as much as it hurts being at Atenean and losing a 19-point lead, I would have to agree with Gab. But the loss by Ateneo was painful. They led by 19, I think, nung first half. But Adamson really played a hell of a game. I think Ateneo, I mentioned this to you guys probably and to some of my friends. Ateneo deserved to lose that game because of their execution nung second half. But more on FEU, I think yung magnitude ng loss nila is a lot. I've been very vocal about FEU. I want this team to rise from the ashes, much like UST. But we've been preaching that they cannot start like last season where they started 0-5. And despite having a decent second round, they weren't able to get to the Final Four. Fortunately, their schedule has been brutal. Yung first two games nila, we all know that was brutal. So it was probably expected or it was probable that they would start 0-2. So they really had to bounce back against UE. I was watching the game nung yesterday. It was the last game. Umabot na ng almost 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock yung game. And I thought FU finally was able to get over the hump. They were leading by double digits. Si LJ Gonzalez was finally having a game. Even si Mo Fati, I think this was his best game so far.
Nakinig siya sa Boleros, pare. Sabi niya, I'm not the worst FSA here.
Yeah. So Mo Fati was not horrendous yesterday as much as he was not that good nung first two games. He was playable to an extent, which was reflected sa minutes niya. But that run by UE was a hell of a run. And it wasn't because of Ray Remogat. We've been preaching also that UE will heavily rely on Ray Remogat. And the off-season, si Devion Jackson pa. But right now, it's Momoway. So we've been preaching that they would heavily rely on two players, their FSA and Ray Remogat. But they won that game not because of Ray Remogat. They won that game because of Gerard Wilson. Much like their first win, another player stepped up. Nung first win nila, si Sawat and si Dumont Cruz stepped up. I think for UE has been a pleasant surprise so far for me this season. FEU, Gab mentioned most of the points. They've been playing similar to how they played last season. The only thing that changes, probably si Coach Denok is more open to trying out small ball lineups, which has worked during their past games. But unfortunately, when Cyrus Torres shoots 1 for 14 and 1 for 10 from 3-point range, it's very hard to win. Much like Ateneo, we've been mentioning this. If Chris Kuhn doesn't shoot well, if Kai Balungay doesn't score 15 plus points, Ateneo will most likely lose. But I think yung magnitude talaga ng loss for FEU starting the season at 0-3, I think yung mount ng pressure is starting to build up again. because they don't want to start 0-5 again. If they start 0-5, it's gonna be a very hard trail going up. So far, all teams have been very competitive with teams really surprising. Adamson just beat Ateneo. UE is 2-1 now, so they're right in the bottom of the standings at 0-3 with USD. So if I'm FEU, I have to really win the next game and probably win 3 out of 4 of their last 4 games dito sa first round. It's gonna be hard with all the pressure. They're starting very slow again, much like last season, and it's concerning despite having players much like Patrick Sleet and Anunueva starting to contribute. So for me, yeah, I agree with Gab, definitely. The loss by FPU was heartbreaking. And I think it was reflected nga dun sa, I mentioned sa kanila kanina yung reaction ng players after the game. Yung sa Ateneo kasi more of na shock yung Ateneo. Yung Ateneo players were shocked and rattled when Adamson was doing their run. Yung sa FPU players, you can see yung devastation when they lost the game. So definitely, I think yung magnitude ng loss ng FPU was a lot bigger than the loss by Ateneo. As far as NU is concerned, just to also talk about NU, I think this is a wake-up call for them that they still have a lot of things to work on. UP, much like what we've been preaching the whole season in our power rankings, are the team to beat. They're on another level. Yung one, we've been saying this, yung players nila from 1 to 16 are all elite. If you get some of the players of UP na nasa 12 to 16, they'll still start for other teams. So I think this is more of a wake-up call for NU. Steve Nash and Baklaan, we've been praising them. They did not show out. Definitely.
It didn't hurt as
UP.
much, no? Yung loss nila against UP. It didn't hurt as much. Okay.
Yeah.
Sam, I'm wondering where you're going with this.
No, definitely I agree with you guys. I think the FEU loss was the loss that hurt the most and impacted the team the most. Na-mention mo, Maui, may kita mo pa lang talaga. Before the game even ended, I think may a few seconds left pa. I think it was si LJ Gonzalez or one of the players napaluhod because they were so dejected and they couldn't believe na natalo sila. And I was just watching the broadcast. I'm not sure kung narinig niyo yun, but I think na-mention na LJ, I think it was also LJ who was being interviewed and parang sabi niya, I can't go 0-3, 0-5 again just like last season. Parang gagawin ko lahat para manalo sa game na to. And unfortunately, hindi sila nanalo. They're back to an 0-3 hole. Might do a repeat of the last season where they started 0-5, which is, they all know it's very hard to come back from an 0-5 start. So definitely agree, FEU most affected here. Let's go to Ateneo. Okay, it didn't hurt as much as FEU's loss. But question ko, is it time to panic for Ateneo? We asked this during the preseason. On a scale of 1 to 5, babalik ko sa inyo. Is it
the
time
whirlwind of
to panic
Ateneo
for
this season?
Ateneo? Ito yung roller coaster of emotions na
roller
mga Ateneo fans ngayon. Sobrang down against that horrible NU loss. Then angat again from LaSalle win. And now come from behind loss against Adamson. On a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being panic mode signal number 100 na end of the world na, is it time to panic? And what would you rate it? Let's start with you, Maui.
Yeah, I think when this was asked no off-season, I was very adamant to say that you should not panic. We should not panic. Atenean should not panic. But if you're talking about now, I think on a scale of 1 to 10, I'll probably be on a 5 now. If you asked me nung preseason, I'd probably say I'm on a 1.
Wow.
Nag-0 and 5.
Wow.
Nag-0 and 5. Nag-0 and 5 Ateneo. no, but I didn't panic. It was a long off season.
Yes,
I
tama.
knew that
Tama.
we had a lot of fill-ams. It
Hindi
was
ka nga nagpanic.
you can see yung training ng Ateneo. They played 40 games in 50 days. I think Sean Kitevis mentioned this on the 6-man podcast. Shout out to Nico Rocha. But it's different when it's already the UAAP. This is it. I mean, we have 14 games. Those 14 games will determine the Final Four slots. Some of our comments even mentioned di ata magma-Final Four Ateneo. And I think it's warranted, definitely. Coach Tab has never lost more than 3 games in the UAAP. They have 2 losses in 3 games. The game against LaSalle they were fortunate to win that game. We were surprised. Most of the people were surprised. Even yung broadcast were saying the LaSalle fans expected them to win that game. If you watch our previous episode, I was so ecstatic. I was called biased for Ateneo for winning that game. And I think them losing that type of game, leading by 19, Jerome Lastimosa, Les Adamson, Adamson without Duanga, Adamson without Manlapas, it's concerning. Si Coach Tab even mentioned this to Presser. He's concerned with Ateneo right now. The problem with Ateneo is will they be able to get over the hump and peak this season? It's not much like last season where they had, or in previous seasons where they had Ange Kwame, a stabilizer for everything. It's not much. They have a couple of rookies and only a few veterans. I think if you ask most of the Ateneans, even yung household namin, if they know yung players ng Ateneo, most of them would say, yeah, I know si Balungay, I know si Kun, and then who else? Si Gomez probably, but I think it's concerning because you have to think, will Ateneo still be able to peak this season, or will this be a development season in Ateneo? It's different when you look at UP. UP has a lot of rookies, but they still have Malik Diouf. They still have JD Kagulangan. When you look at, and they have CD Cancino, also another veteran that stabilizes everything. But when you look at Ateneo, you have unproven veterans much like Chris Kuhn and Balunga. You have a history of being inconsistent. And I think yung first 3 games have shown that these guys maybe are not ready. But again, it's Coach Tab. So we have to trust Coach Tab. We have to trust the process. I mean, I mentioned this to you guys off air kanina. There's a window usually for UAAP teams. There's a reason why UAAP teams don't usually go 5-peat, 4-peats. And it's because players can only play for a maximum of 5 years. And it's even more difficult now where players, second year or even first year players go abroad, go pro early. Ateneo has been hit by that, by the early departure of Belangel. Ateneo has been hit by Dwight Ramos leaving before, but it's different now because they don't have those veterans much like Kwame. I mean, Kwame just got into the EuroLeague Division 3. That speaks volume on the impact that Kwame left with Ateneo. And you also have Padrigao, who was a mythical team member, who out of the blue did not make the team this year. We all know the issues surrounding that. But yeah, I think definitely I am concerned with Ateneo. Not like no off season where I was just waiting and seeing how they will perform once the UAAP started. Unfortunately, it hasn't started that well. Even yung game against LaSalle, Coach Tab said that they didn't play to the level of twist level that they want. So Ateneo really has a lot of things to work on. If they lose a couple more games during the first round, then it would be very difficult for them to get a twice to beat advantage because UP is now 3-0. So UP can run away. NU is 2-1, but they've already faced UP also. So LaSalle lang ang contender na most likely malaking chance to challenge them. But if NU wins all of the remaining games, then they'll only have 1 loss the whole first round. And LaSalle is also, if you watch the LaSalle game yesterday, it looks like it's a different team. When they lost last year, it was different. They were all down. Now, when they lost during the UST game, everyone was hyped up. Everyone stepped up. Jonel Policarpio had his best game. Kevin Kiambao didn't have to have a 20-point, 15 rebound game. Evanelli didn't have to have a 15.12 assist game. Everyone contributed. So it's a different ball game. But I'm happy. I mean, we talked about this in preseason. What we want for the UAAP is parity. What we want for the UAAP is unpredictability, similar to the off-season. So that's what we're getting now.
Gab,
Yeah.
are you panicking? Si
I'm
Maui, 5
a
of
2
10.
out of 5. I'm actually
So
shocked
4
that
out
Maui
of
went
10.
5 out.
4 out of 10.
The-
4 out of
Ah,
10. Kasi sabi ni Maui 5 out of 10. So ikaw 4 out of 10.
Yeah, a 4 out of 10. Yes, it's concerning is the UAAP and Tab still experimenting, but yeah, he's experimenting. This is the third different starting five he's put out there. He has never done this. He has never changed a starting five throughout an entire season. The starting five yesterday got hot, gave them an early lead, and they were never seen again. So I think that tells you all you need to know. What concerns me, why I'm a 4, is why is Tab experimenting into the UAP season? But again, I have to pull myself back. He did do this last season with Chris Kuhn at point guard. That horrible second unit. Second unit is still horrible. I don't understand why Ian Espinosa is getting so many minutes. He's getting taken advantage of on defense. He's a black hole on offense, dribbles too much. But Coach Tab knows his players more than any of us. I think there's a reason why he has these rotations, which are, to me, they're crazy. I think they're crazy rotations, but it's him, man. This is what he wants. But yeah, it seems
Tiwala
like
na
there's a
lang.
lot of getting. Tiwala lang. There seems to be a lot of
Tiwala
getting
na
to
lang.
know rin between the players. In the second half, so many shot clock violations, so many shots at the end of the shot clock. That was ugly basketball, such ugly basketball. Even in overtime, they scored 2 points in overtime. They couldn't get anything going, and the offensive execution is not there yet. Defensive execution is not there yet. The second unit is just, they can't, nothing, man. It's zero production from the second unit right now. Gio 2, sorry, I gotta shout you. If we had ballers and boleros, I would put you as a bolero. Pinaasa mo na naman kami. Pinaasa mo na naman si Sam Santos. We thought that finally may
Every off-season. Yan ang
every off-season may
dala ni
napapakita ka
Gio
naman.
Chu.
Baka may redemption story kay Gio Chu. Pinalo ko pa ni Joaquin Manuel, Gio. Siya may redemption story, ikaw wala. I think he's a combined minus 50 plus in 3 games. Gio Chu. Wow, Gio. I thought he stopped with the shot faking thing, get it, that the hesitancy to just go up strong. But no way, he still does it. He's so hesitant to get fouled, and that's one of the reasons why it's been very bad for Ateneo, man. Once he gets in there and with the second unit, they falter defensively, they falter offensively. Just, it's been bad. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's been bad so far, but you can see some spots where a team is forming. Chris Kuhn, I think, is settling into that go-to guy role. He hasn't been that consistent yet, but you see it, no? At when plays need to be made, he's the one getting the ball. He's the one directing. Jared Brown, I think, settled into that main point guard role. I'm not sure why Gab Gomez not getting a lot more minutes, but who knows, man. So yun, there are some bright spots still for me, so that's why I'm a 4 out of 10 or 2 out of 5, depending on how On which
Okay.
denominator? Sammy.
Okay, 4 out of 10
5
for
out of
Gab.
5 out of 10 ako, hindi 5 out of 5. Hindi complete
5
panic
out of
ako.
10, 5 out
Just to
of
be
10.
clear.
So for me, I think I'm a bit higher in uh I'm higher on the panic scale versus the two of you. I would say 6 for me. I've said it before. During our power rankings, our second power rankings, I said I would rate Ateneo lower than what you guys had them, and I think first 3 games
Always
they
the
haven't had a
pessimist,
good
Sam
game.
Santos. Always the
Let me
pessimist. I've
reiterate,
known you for
kahit
how many years? You're the pessimist.
let me reiterate, kahit si Coach Tab said the win against LaSalle was not a good game by Ateneo. So that's 3 out of 3 games, all bad games for Ateneo. I haven't seen a good game from Ateneo, so I'm a bit worried. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm a bit worried. So 6 out of 10 for me. Let's move on. I want to talk about the winners. Let's talk about the people that impressed us. So let's go with UE first. Alam naman natin na MVP candidate si Remogat, 'di ba? We're all calling him an MVP candidate, Mythical 5 candidate. But in UA's game,
Is he though? We'll see in our next
so
episode.
yun nga, we're hyping him up, 'di ba? We're hyping him up. Is it? Pero definitely in UA's game yesterday, surprisingly hindi siya yung leading scorer. So we had leading scorers, si Momoe and si Gerard Wilson. So who was more impressive in UE's win yesterday? Momoe with a double-double or Gerard Wilson coming out of nowhere? Gab, let's go with you.
I'm gonna go with Precious Endurance Momoe. That's apparently his second name.
Precious. Endurance
Sakto
talaga?
no?
Hindi ko
Sobrang
alam yun.
water
Yeah.
motor.
Uh,
Yeah.
Matibay.
I
Matibay
forgot.
to.
I forgot
Pang
who said it. I
Motolite,
think it
pang
was Jet
matagalan.
Manuel. Yeah, I think it was Jet Manuel who said na his second name is Precious Endurance. So Precious Endurance Momoe, I think has been pretty impressive. Uh, he's been more impressive numbers wise compared to Ray Mogat. If you just look at the stats, and we'll go through it possibly in our next episode. But I think he's the guy stabilizing the defense, giving UE that inside option that they need. He's had 3 straight double doubles already, racking up the rebounds and the points. He hasn't been efficient. That's a different story. But he has been crashing the boards and he has been protecting the rim and going to the free throw line. For Gerard Wilson, again, I said it in our first day reactions when we saw him. He's an additional playmaker. But this is one of those times where he just got hot. He got hot at the right time, helped out the team when they needed the most. Exactly what you need from a possible role player who can get hot at any time, Gerard Wilson. So for me, it's Momo Wave just because of the consistency. Third straight double double for him. Uh, hit mid range shots, hit shots at the inside, hit some of his free throws, and crash the boards. For me, it's Momo Wave. Maui.
Yung most crucial free throws, he hit them during late in the game. I mean, even the announcer, si Norman Black was saying, will Momo Way hit his free throws? And they hit both of the free throws. For me, it's different. I look at the game and when I look at two teams, they're players that you expect to contribute. Remogat was expected, Momo Way was expected based on UA's first game. Gerard Wilson came out of nowhere. I think si Sam mentioned this nung sa chat group namin. The previous game, when he entered, he had 2 turnovers and Coach Jack ripped him out of the game and he never came back. This game was a completely different story. He was a menace on defense. He helped stop LJ Gonzalez. LJ Gonzalez was having himself a game. And when UP went on that man defense, zone defense, he was the one on the top of the key and disrupting all of these guards. And I think yung impact na talaga is on the offensive end. Him hitting those off-balance jump shots, shocking FEU players. Definitely when you see a player score more than 10 points in any UAAP game that you did not expect, probably not on the top of the scouting report of these teams, I would say that he's the player of the game, should be the player of the game. When you see a player like Joaquin Manuel for LaSalle probably score 15 points. We can talk about that also later. He has to be the player of the game. When a player steps up out of nowhere, I think that's really one of the reasons why a team would win a game, especially if they were the underdogs during the game. Yeah, so definitely, I do not discredit Momoe's contribution. I love his motor. I guess yung problem na talaga, as Gab mentioned, is yung efficiency. But a player having that motor and an FSA playing like that, going after every rebounds, diving for loose balls, going at it with any matchup is a welcome sight. I mean, you see that he cares for UE. That's most important for any foreign student athlete. I think that's something that lacks with some foreign student athletes. Probably Adame Faye from UST needs to look at Momoe and get his motor and care for the school that he plays for. These players, most of the FSAs, most of them only get to the Philippines when they need to play for a school. So it's different for them. It's not like the locals or even the Phil-Ams who have a bit of experience of Philippine culture and life. So when you see an FSA really going at it, getting 20 rebounds, getting 10 offensive rebounds, and shooting a lot of free throws because he's doing everything he can, then definitely Momoe, it's a welcome sight. I think Coach Jack just mentioned it. He's been mentioning it the whole off season. Momoe is an answered player for them. They were ready to play without an FSA, and Momoe's papers just happened to be approved at the last minute before the start of the season. So yeah, but I do not want to discredit Gerard Wilson. What a game he played yesterday. Hopefully, most of the other players ng UE starts to play consistently. Si Cruz Dumont hasn't been consistent since the opening day win. But si Sawat is also a wake-up sight.
Sawat has been good.
Yeah.
Agree. I'm going with Gerard Wilson only because the question was who was the most impressive in UE's win yesterday. But I agree with Gab. Actually, Momoe is by far like definitely expected to perform well and in the top 2 for UE's team. But Gerard Wilson out of nowhere really helped UE win yesterday. So Gerard Wilson, agree with Maui there. Okay, let's go to the other team, no? The other team that upset an Ateneo, Adamson. And sa akin kasi, for me, I've always underrated Adamson. I realized that na since even last year,
Both of you did.
with Jerome,
Both of you did in our power
actually,
rankings.
I was gonna say, even last year,
I think warranted
I
naman
underrated.
without Jerome Lastimosa
underrated.
also.
Correct. So last year I underrated them, but this year I think everyone's underrating Adamson because we all know Jerome Lastimosa is injured. He's not going to play. Again, sabi mo nga Gab, Maui and I both had Adamson lower in our power rankings. You had Adamson at 5th. But I think we would all agree na probably the most underrated team this season is Adamson. Kasi we really did not expect them to win or to be this successful early without Jerome Lastimosa. So my question is, who is the most underrated Adamson player for you? Maui, let's go with you.
Yeah, I think we can see Cedric Manzano kasi Manzano was also contributing last year. He's been great for Adamson. But I think yung most important player ng Adamson has to be Joem Sabandal so far. It's not because when you look at the box score, Sabandal has scored a lot of points. It's not. But Sabandal has been their go-to guy during the crunch time. He has been their stabilizer. I think it's very crucial when you lose a player of Jerome Lastimosa's caliber that you get that point guard, that you get that floor general that can really dictate the pace ng offense nyo. When you look at a team like Ateneo, when they lost Fortsky, it's been a wild goose chase. It's been a point guard by committee. But when you look at Adamson, we called out players like Hierro, we called out players like Sabandal, and si Montebon was also mentioned by one of our subscribers before. I think si Sabandal has really showcased himself and earned a lot of minutes. Even if Jerome Lastimosa plays, I hope he gets a ton of minutes. They can run 2-point guard lineups with him and Montebon, him and Jerome Lastimosa. But yeah, it's a welcome sight. Adamson has been a welcome sight. Some of our subscribers from Adamson have mentioned that they performed decently when Jerome Lastimosa went down last year. And I think it has given them that confidence, that experience to really, it reflects how they have performed so far. Yung trial by fire nila from last season. Coach Nash and the coaching staff have been fantastic. Si Coach Gilbert Lau has been the one calling out yung last minute plays for the crucial plays. That corner 3 by Montebon was a well-executed play. Although Ateneo, I didn't know why they ran a zone defense when Adamson did the 3. But yeah, if you look at history, if you look at UAAP history, Coach Nash has been a part of a ton of game winners. This was posted by, I don't know, si Pong Ducanes yata. It's a long list. As in, merong Mac Belo pa ata. Marami talaga. Merong Tolomia. It's more than 5. So, Adamson really has
I can never forget
experience.
those Mac Belo game winners.
Against LaSalle and against Ateneo. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. So, I guess this coaching staff is really experienced when it comes to these types of situations. Si Coach Nash also mentioned nung presser niya actually. Well, we had an overtime experience the previous game day, so we're more experienced than Ateneo. And it really showed. I think yung composure ng Adamson during this tight game showed that the experience has led them to that win. But I also think that Ateneo really deserved to lose that game with how they played, with how the players were not mindful of the shot clock. It was crazy. But I think Joem Sabandal definitely is a player to watch out for Adamson. Si Cedric Manzano, I love this game. It's bully boy basketball, but he has an outside shot also. So at least may mix. I think he has a bright future if he continues to develop that outside shot. So yeah, Adamson has been a welcome surprise so far for me. And I have to admit, I really underrated them. If you watch yung preseason power rankings namin, I think I ranked them as low as 6. I think it's crazy because if you watch them in preseason, there were not a ton of good things to talk about with them, aside from the game winner of Montebon versus Ateneo team that was losing to all UAP teams. But so far, the UAP season, they've shown out. All games have been competitive. They've won 2 out of 3 games with an overtime win. This will bode well for them, especially if they have more crucial games down the line. Kasi yung pressure, they've been able to handle pressure a lot better than the other teams. Gab.
I know you said that Cedric Manzano doesn't count to be underrated, but I still think he is pretty underrated. What a beast this guy was yesterday. What a freaking beast. He out-rebounded Obasa, Amos, and Balungay on almost every offensive rebound, every defensive rebound. He was a beast. No one could box him out. I was screaming in the Araneta Coliseum, someone put a body on Cedric Manzano. And grabe, the stuff this guy is doing this is 3rd season, he's consistently gotten better from season 84, 85, and now on 86. Adding the 3-point shot, he didn't take one yesterday. It was pretty contested in his looks from three, but in the paint, unstoppable. So strong in the paint. Uh, Rebounding. We don't talk about it as much, but Coach Nash does not play Ojarikre that much. He plays Cedric Manzano at center most of the time. And Cedric Manzano is what, 6'4", 6'5"? And he's playing against guys who are 6'7", 6'10", way taller than him. But he was unstoppable in the paint. I do remember getting he was getting offensive rebound and just pushing away Mason Amos. And Mason Amos is not a weak guy by any means. Or putting a shoulder on Obasa or Kai Balunga and just clearing them out of the way. He's a star in the making. I do wish that they would run more plays through him, but just him getting those buckets, timely offensive rebounds. I was so impressed yesterday by Cedric Manzano. He doesn't get the love he deserves. So, as to your question, Sam, who is the most underrated? I still think Cedric Manzano is pretty much an underrated player for Adamson.
Okay, I actually agree with Gab. People say si Cedric Manzano ang go-to guy, siya talaga ang star ng Adamson. But even if we know we expect him to do that, ibang level siya ngayon. I think despite being the star of Adamson or one of the stars, he's super underrated pa rin. Yesterday, he was playing against much bigger guys and dominating. You mentioned Kai, Mason, even Obasa. The game against UP, even though they lost, he was dominating naman the long athletic guys of UP. This guy is not afraid of a challenge. He's not afraid of anyone. He will just do what he does best, pound that ball, rebound, battle for boards. I love him. I love it. But since Gab talked about him, I just want to do a special shout out to Eli Ramos, the revenge game.
The
People,
revenge game.
Revenge
the
game nga. Kahit si Coach Nash
game
was saying sa presser.
It was for Eli daw, di ba? Maui, sabi nga ni Coach Nash. Game 1 pa lang, I think game 1 early reactions natin, someone commented, Eli Ramos is a bust. Game 1 pa lang, people were calling him a bust. We didn't mention him dun sa mga surprising players natin. This guy has been in the Philippines since I don't know when. I know when the White Ramos went here soon after si Eli joined him in Ateneo. He's been waiting for years to play for the UAAP, and first two games not really good. Even I don't know, even in the preseason he didn't really stand out. But happy for him to get this win, and I think he played good defense against Ateneo, and he missed a couple of free throws that could have helped them win in the fourth during the fourth, but he hit crucial free throws. Nonetheless, I think medyo may mga clutch free throws din siya. So I just want to do a special shout out for Eli. He may not be a superstar for the team, but this guy brings in effort. Yun na lang, effort. And he was good yesterday. So
I
kudos
think one
to
of the
you.
reasons also why he's considered a bust because Dwight Ramos is his brother. So
Grabe
He's a
yung
we are
stud.
hype,
kind of
right?
expecting
Yeah.
na
He's
He's
a
stud,
stud.
yeah. So
Yeah,
people
so
expect him to be Dwight. But Eli is Eli. Yun na lang, sabihin natin. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about UP. So we keep saying itong UP team is the super dominant, favorites to win the championship, super deep. So my question to you, is this UP team deeper than the championship team of UP? So I'm not saying better, but is this UP team deeper than the championship team of UP? Go Gab. Mr. Maroon, naka-maroon.
I'm in red for UE, bro.
Yung iba yan, yung iba yan.
UE.
Go Gab.
Yes, they are. That season 84 team had guys like Was Ashton Andalusia? Yeah, he was. He was there already. Season 84.
They had Richie.
Bismarck Lean. Yeah, they had
Richie
Richie.
Rivero.
Guys like Bismarck Lina, J-Boy Gob. So guys, you know, never really expect to, or we're not really high profile recruits. You know, that they've been there. They're veterans of the UAAP. They didn't really get any minutes. But this team, man, you can go 1 through 16 and pull anyone out, and I think they will form. Yesterday, we saw Luis Pablo get some minutes and performed really well. He's the third string center. Just let that sink in. He's the third string center, and he was the center during the run in the third quarter. Crazy. This team, I said it in one of my comments, one of my replies to one of our subscribers. They can have 5 injuries and they'd still be stacked and deep and probably be unbeatable. Janjan Felicilda is the backup point guard. Heck, Terence Forte is not even playing. And he's a knockdown shooter.
Wala pa si Forte.
Wala pa.
So,
Hindi pa nagpapakita.
7 Gagate from LaSalle Green Hills, high-profile recruit, is not even playing that much. So, what else do you want me to say? It's definitely this team.
Yeah,
Maui, do you
I would have to agree. Yes, I would have to agree. Players like Noah Webb were getting minutes in season 84 championship ng UP, I think. Nothing against him, but it's a crazy stacked UP team. Other players like Janjan Felicilda and Dylan Torres were starting for teams before they went to UP. If Sean Alter was in another team, even if Gagate was probably in another team, he could start. Much like Danny Stevens did when he was in UE. But yeah, definitely UP is a stacked team. I mean, when do you see a team na 1 to 16? Kahit sino pwede mong hugot, di ba? Players like Belmonte haven't really shown out yet. They had big games ng off-season. Si Lebron Lopez had his best game during the third game. Nung first 2 games, he was more of an energy guy. But yeah, I have to shout out Lebron. I underrated him by a lot. If you watch yung preseason episodes namin, I'm really impressed sa development ng Lebron Lopez, especially on Francis na pala, wag Lebron, Francis Lopez, because of his basketball IQ. I think that's what stands out the best for me. This guy doesn't have to have the ball in his hands to have an impact. He can have games when he has 2 points, but it's still a big impact for UP. And I understand why Coach Gold has given him a ton of minutes compared to the other marquee recruits. This guy will probably be a one and done. Should be a one and done, in my opinion. He should go take his talents to Korea or Japan or wherever is greener. Lebron Lopez has really shown that he is the top rookie probably for this season. Si Humamoy hasn't have that opportunity. Si Amos will definitely not get that much playing time with Balungay alongside. But UP is definitely the most stacked team. This is definitely their best team, probably since their two-peat champion with Ronnie Magsanok and Benji Paras. I think they have the best point guard. They have the best center. CJ Cancino also has an argument to be one of the top guards. Lebron Lopez has an argument to be one of the top wings. Terence Fortea, we mentioned, hasn't even played. He could be the best six-man. It's crazy. UP is stacked. I would be surprised and shocked if they lose 2 games in the elimination round probably. My expectation is for them to really sweep the elimination round. But let's see. It's crazy. The UAAP is crazy. The UAAP off-season was a roller coaster. So maybe somebody can upset, maybe even not one of the top teams, maybe. But so far, UP has looked undestructible. All of their games, they've led by double figures. I don't think we've seen a team like this. Probably they're similar to the Blue Eagle team that swept previous seasons ago, a few seasons ago. They clearly are a step ahead right now. I don't see them. It's really their title to lose, in my opinion. Uh, but yeah, to answer your question, definitely it's deeper because it's 1 to 16. Anyone can have a big game. Unlike before, when you had players who only defended or only were a 3-point specialist, this team has any player that can take over. Like, we haven't seen Belmonte take over. That's a possibility.
Okay. Gab and Maui mentioning this is a deeper team. Uh, dun sa mga UP fans, bago kayo magalit or mag-react. That's why the question was, is this team a deeper team? Hindi this team a better team than the championship team? Syempre, it's just 3 games. We'll see how this team will perform. Iba
Palagi
din naman
naman galit
yung may...
mga UP fans eh.
Grabe ka naman. Iba din naman yung
Hindi
iba
naman.
din naman yung may Zave Lucero, Carl Tamayo, Richie
Hindi, tsaka
Rivero, may
we haven't seen them
Spencer.
in the Final Four,
Spencer
di ba?
din.
Siyempre, iba rin when
Oo.
wala pang
Iba
pressure
rin,
ngayon.
iba din yung
They're beating all
correct.
teams. It's not like previous UP teams where Carl Tamayo had to carry them during the fourth quarter when Zave Lucero
Yes.
had to carry them also. So it's different. They've been dominant mostly for
And
the
I think
120 minutes sa first 3 games.
yeah, and I think yun yung keyword no Maui. Why this is so impressive is they've been very dominant. Kahit yung championship team ng UP, they lost their first game against Ateneo. They didn't, parang I guess figure things out until the end when they were like really really good. But this team, umpisa pa lang, they've been very dominant and very very impressive win yesterday against NU. Siguro for reference lang for me why this is also a deeper team or a very dominant team. Actually, in the first 3 games, someone like JD Kagulangan, he hasn't really parang had like an excellent game, di ba? He can just have an okay game, chill lang siya, minsan nga inuupo na siya agad, and they still dominate. Probably one of the best point guards in the UAAP right now doesn't need to dominate for the team to succeed. Another example for me, Cyril Gonzalez, someone that I really loved last season, barely playing this season. So, that's how deep or dominant itong UP team na to. Moving on, let's do some rapid fire since we're almost hitting yung 1 hour mark. Let's go to LaSalle. One last team before we go through our final questions. We know KQ and Evanele are always going to perform. They're the top 2 players of the team. Mike Phillips then also big 3 nila. But other than the big 3, who's your favorite LaSalle player so far? Maui, let's give some love to LaSalle. Lalo na kahapon.
Yeah,
Kahapon, maraming mga players that contributed na hindi superstars. No? So, who's your
hindi si
favorite
Nelly,
LaSalle player
hindi si
so far?
Kiambao, or hindi si Phillips.
Wag si Phillips. Wag yung mga superstars.
Mauna na ako kay Gab. I have to say it's Joaquin Manuel so far.
Yes!
He's been a welcome sight. Welcome sight sa first 3 games ng LaSalle. Yung first 2 games, he was more of a facilitator, and yung first game was more of a rebounder. Yung second game, he was 1 for 8 against Ateneo, but he had a lot of nifty passes, couple of rebounds. And finally, the third game, yung 3-point shot niya fell. I think he hit 3 3-pointers yesterday. But yeah, Joaquin Manuel, I love this player when he was in Ateneo High School. Parehas sila ni Jason Credo. We're do it all forwards. They were not a star of that team. Si Kai Soto and probably si David Alfonso ang talagang highlights nun. But Joaquin Manuel has been a welcome sight for LaSalle. I mean, how can you not like a person who people already mentioned probably will not make the team? Diba? No off-season, there were rumblings that or even previous seasons, a lot of alumni mentioned, tanggalin na si Joaquin Manuel. Kahit kami, kahit ako, personally, I would say, wag tanggalin na si Joaquin Manuel, wag na palaruin, or even more, tanggalin sa team. And I think yung experimentation ni Coach Topex kay Joaquin Manuel this off-season was great. He put Joaquin Manuel in the Pinoy Liga lineup of LaSalle without all the other starters. So Joaquin Manuel was the de facto leader star of that team. And he showed out and became the leading scorer of that team. I think that experimentation has paid off. Joaquin Manuel is a different player this season. I hope there would still be less shenanigans. Wala yung mga random sikos, random hawes, but it's Waki. I just hope he focuses more on the game, but so far he's really done well. I think it is not expected. Kaya rin, much like my pick of Gerard Wilson, Joaquin Manuel contributing is a welcome sight for LaSalle and will definitely help them if they want to go deep. Gab.
I want to say Joaquin Manuel too, but I've been mentioning Joaquin Manuel for the last how many episodes already, so I'm gonna go a different route here. Francis Escandor, I think he's been great for this team. Just a guy gives it on the defensive end, a 3-and-D wing, can shoot the three, has shown the ability to get to the basket. He doesn't put up large numbers, but his height on the wing, his 3-point shooting has been pretty valuable for LaSalle. And that's it. That's all really I have to say. LaSalle is just too focused on the superstars. So it's gonna kind of hard to put a lot of focus on the role players because they just don't get a lot of spotlight. But yeah, si Joaquin Manuel has been the most obvious one. And for me, si Francis Escandor. That's all. Sam.
Saka, Sam, sorry to add lang, si Abadam, we've been calling this last year pa lang that Abadam should get more minutes. And he has been contributing. I think yung outside shooting niya has really improved this off-season. And you can see yung flashes na talaga as a good slasher and facilitator also. I think we've been excited with him since we watched him with Amos sa under 16. Hopefully continues to perform.
Yeah, Abadam, Escandor, Manuel, those are good picks. Yesterday, shout out lang kay Policarpio and kay David. Finally showed out. I think Policarpio didn't play in the previous game against...
First time mo mapanood, Sam, si David. Di mo nga sa kilala nung fifth season eh.
Totoo yan. First time ko mapanood si David kahapon. I think Policarpio also didn't play nung against Ateneo. So, I was wondering about that. So, good game for him yesterday. But it has to be Joaquin Manuel. He's like fine wine. He just keeps getting better. We were calling out his 3-point shooting. Nagpakita tuloy. Ano ba siya? 3 of 5? 3 of 4 sa 3 points kahapon. Hot from 3. So, kudos to Joaquin Manuel again. My favorite LaSalle player you love to hate. May ganun ba? With the antics. Shout out to Joaquin Manuel. Okay. Last 2 questions. Which team will win a game first? FEU or UST? Rapid fire, Gab.
Give me FEU. No other reason, just give me FEU. I think they're the more desperate team.
Has to be FEU. It's crazy if it's UST. For me also, it has to be FEU.
Okay, magkakaalaman na pag maglaban sila this first round. FEU versus UST. That might be the first time one of these 2 teams will win. Someone you're rooting for to have a breakout game or at least get more minutes. Na maybe you were hyped on them or you expected them to do well. But so far, they haven't played a lot or they haven't had a good game. Maui.
You can pick anyone from UP.
Hindi, ako.
Pwede.
Ako actually, SJ Moore. SJ Moore ang pick ko talaga for this one. where did all the hype go? I mean, yung sa first few games didn't even play. Itong third game, kala ko magic hugot na ni Pido. But he started, but still no impact. I'm looking for somebody for Nick Cabanero. I hope he gets more help. He's been playing well. Even if he has a big half, if UST still trails by double figures. So this guy needs more help. I mentioned before that maybe after this season we won't see him. So hopefully more UST players stepped up. Yeah.
Gab?
Ako, I mentioned him earlier. Geo freaking 2. Come on, bro. Let's go. Let's go. At least have a decent game where you're a positive on the floor, man. That you don't have to break out, score 10 points or whatever. Just have a 3 blocks, get 8 rebounds, and not be forced. Don't force that ball to take you out of the game all the time. Geo 2, man. You showed flashes again in the off season. So show it here in the UAAP. Come on, I'm rooting for you, bro. This is your last year. Geo 2.
You mentioned it, Gab, anyone from UP. Sa akin si Belmonte pa rin. I had him as one of my surprise players. I hope he gets more minutes. I hope he has one of these breakout games. Looking forward to seeing him play more. But another guy, another guy that I want to talk about, Jason Credo, I think for me. Talk about someone that I mentioned. Actually, I wanted to mention Dwight here, but since I mentioned him already, I mentioned, sorry, not
Dwight
Dwight.
or Eli?
Eli Ramos. Eli Ramos.
What?
I mentioned,
Dwight
talk about
Ramos?
someone who waited for years just to play in the UAAP. Si Jason Credo has waited for years just to get back to the team. He again missed the team, making the team last year. So finally he's back. I think this is also his last year. So come on, man. Ang tagal mong nag-antay. This is your last year. Let's go. We're expecting a lot from you also.
I
Go,
was
Gab.
gonna I was debating in my head to say my favorite NU player, you PJ Palacelo. But he did have kind of a mini breakout yesterday. I don't know if you caught his run. He scored 8 straight points, giving Francis Lopez the bag. Fade away from the post, hook shot, put back, spin move. They should run more plays through this guy. But yeah, he had a mini breakout yesterday, so I didn't want to say it. But yeah, just wanted to give something for NU. We didn't discuss NU that much in this episode, but PJ Palacelo, good on you, man. Had a mini breakout.
Oh, hey, that's it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed the questions, the burning questions we had. Stay tuned because we're going to have another episode soon before the Wednesday game. Uh, Hanggang doon na lang muna. O magpe-preview ka ba, Gab? Wag muna, no? Wag muna. Secret lang muna.
Wag muna.
That's it.
Sana.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget, comment, answer your questions. Answer the questions then, comment them down below. If you have burning questions also, why don't you ask them? And maybe, just maybe, we'll discuss them in our next episode. So, comment down below, like, share the link to your friends. Don't forget, if you're still watching and you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you. Bye-bye.